going on here? Y'all doing a little bit too much. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Kwame and Micah. Remember when they had that meetup and Kwame and Micah were at the pool and they were just in each other's face? And what's Kwame's wife's name? Her name ain't Chelsea. Is her name Chelsea too? What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxy with Roxy Says, and we're going to talk about it. So today we are just, oh no, wait, hold up. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. I just have to say thank you all so much. We just hit 15,000 subscribers and 1 million views. Thank you. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that you all enjoy my content, that you all return, that you like, you engage. I love y'all. Thank you so much. So today we are reviewing Love is Blind Season 6, Episodes 5 and 6. And when I tell you the way that these episodes had my blood pressure up, okay, especially Episode 6, let's get right into it. But before we do, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, so as the episode opens up, we see both Trevor and Jimmy telling us why they're both head over heels in love with Chelsea and why they both want to propose to her, okay? And y'all had the nerve to put my boo, Trevor, in the room by himself, knowing that no one was on the other side of the wall. See, when y'all did it last season to Uche, I didn't mind. I didn't mind because Uche was mean as hell. But Trevor, y'all wrong. But we do see Jimmy. He proposes. He tells Chelsea, I love you. He says, I love how you make me feel. I love the fact that you look like Megan Fox. You know, all of that. He tells her all the things, okay? But of course, Chelsea says yes. And I don't think I've ever been this excited for a reveal in Love is Blind history. Ever. So right after that, Chelsea goes to break up with Trevor. And she's beating around the bush. And he's like, is everything okay? And she says, you know, I just can't give you all of me right now. And I'm like, what do you mean right now? You just accepted someone else's proposal. It ain't no right now. It's ever. Like ever, right? And the way that Trevor handled this breakup made me love him even more, right? He's clearly hurt, but he's being gentle, he's being understanding, and he says exactly what I said in my last video. He says, I don't understand how you're picking the person who wasn't 100% sure about you over the person who was 100% sure about you. Like, make it make sense. It's not making any sense. And then he asks a great question. He says, if I had asked you first, would you have said yes to me? And Chelsea can't even answer this question. She can't even answer the question. And Trevor's like, well, that's not too good for Jimmy's sake. And he has a great point because that means she's really not even 100% about Jimmy. She's just crying and apologizing. And all I got from this scene was that Trevor is too good for Chelsea, okay? And he deserves someone who is 1000% as sure as he is. Trevor, if you're watching this, don't worry. I'm sure your DMs will be full in no time, okay? Aww. Next, we see Jeremy and he's breaking up with Sarah. And Sarah is confused, and I totally understand why, because she says he was telling her deep things that he claimed to only have been telling her. So how could you pick someone else? But at the same time, Sarah does seem pretty unbothered. Maybe she's just better at hiding her emotions, but this interaction was definitely giving exit interview, okay? Very professional, very concise, none of the tears, none of the dramatics. And I really don't think that Sarah was in love with Jeremy at all, if I'm being completely honest. But she does go back to the quarters and she tells Laura that Jeremy is gonna choose her. And they hug and they reassure each other that all is well between them and that there's no hard feelings, okay? Next, we see Jeremy and he proposes to Laura. And he tells her that he decided last night that she was the one for him and that she was his forever person. And Laura tells Jeremy that he has been her number one since day one. And she's like, oh, did I just find my baby daddy? And he's like, yeah, girl, I'm your baby daddy. I was like, okay, we'll see. So now it is time. The time that we have all been waiting for. It is time for Jimmy to finally meet Chelsea in person. And when I tell you, I had to pause my computer before the scene just so that I could mentally prepare. My heart was pounding, okay? And did y'all catch in the confessional when Jimmy made a huge slip up, he called that woman Jessica. Okay, so that already shows you where his head was at this whole time. But he does say that he hopes that there's a strong attraction there, but either way, he loves her. So attraction, it doesn't matter. The physical doesn't matter. Meanwhile, Chelsea is saying that she just wants to throw up all over the place, okay? She says this a lot in these next 2 episodes, so I'm guessing that that's just her immediate reaction to all situations, okay? So child, the doors opened. And it was so cringe. It was so cringe. And is it me, but I feel like Chelsea ran into Jimmy and hugged him so that he wouldn't be able to take a good look at her. I'm gonna put the clip in. I feel like she was like doing a lot of like running and just slammed into him so that he couldn't like really see her. And I feel like every time that he tried to like take a step back and get a look at her, she would just grab his face and pull him in and kiss him. And she's telling him that he's so handsome and he's just telling her thank you. And I'm like, girl, the words MGK's wife and Megan Fox should have never left your lips, ever. It should have never left your lips. And I'm not saying this because I think that Chelsea is not an attractive woman, not at all. But for all of this time, all that Jimmy has had in his mind is Megan Fox. And I honestly think that had she never brought up Megan Fox, I feel like this meetup would have went a lot better. I really do. Because he would have had no physical expectations. He would just be meeting the woman who he claims that he fell in love with behind the wall. But now he sees this woman running over to him like a T-Rex. And I could say that because that's what she said, okay? That she said it first, so I could say it. And he's like, who the hell is this? But then again, had she never told him that she did look like Megan Fox, he probably wouldn't have picked her in the first place. So there's that. Ooh, I cannot wait till he sees Jess, especially because she shares a closer aesthetic to Megan Fox than Chelsea does. But child, we're going to have to wait and see that because it's going to be a shit show. I just know it. So when they sit down on the bench, Jimmy actually tells her that he almost went home this morning because this whole experience has been a roller coaster. And then she's like, what? He's like, well, not because of you. I'm good now. And of course, she's not happy to hear that her fiance was about to leave this morning. But then she asks him if she's what he was expecting. And to her face, he tells her that she's gorgeous. But baby, in that confessional, he says something completely different.
She definitely lied to me on some how she looked. Chelsea told me she looked like Megan Fox.
I'm so sweaty. This would be a great time for the people who have ever told me that I resembled her to come forward. Please, I'm begging you.
Jimmy definitely feels away. He feels like he's been lied to. He's been hoodwinked, tricked, bamboozled, baby. He's not happy about it. And he keeps telling her, oh, I don't care what you look like. Looks don't matter. And clearly, he's trying to convince himself because he ain't convincing us, okay? This reveal made me want to throw up, okay? It was absolutely horrible. I cringed the entire time. It was on the same level as when Irina and Zach met up. Remember that meetup? Absolutely horrible. So next we see Jeremy and Laura's reveal, and I'm not mad at it. It was really cute. It was friendly. It was playful. They both seem to be very happy with each other physically, and they actually go sit on the couch and they start kissing and they chat. It's not super passionate, but at this point, I was not mad at this couple at all, and I felt like I could definitely see them growing closer on the honeymoon. But baby, we gonna get to that because in episode 6, Laura showed her whole ass, okay? So now we have our 5 couples and they're off to the Dominican Republic. They're staying at a resort in Punta Cana, and now it's their time to work on that physical connection, okay? And remember, the wedding is only 4 weeks away. I love the honeymoon portion because that's when we see people start to act the fool. That's when the couples get together and they can see some of the people who they actually dated while they were in the pods, and it's always messy. Ooh, I just love it. Off the bat, Chelsea keeps asking Jeremy if he regrets his decision, and even when he compliments her, she gives him this look as if she doesn't believe him, like this. Off the rip, I know that that's going to be a problem. Then we see her pretty much unalive her mom, okay, because she swears on her mom's life that she didn't tell anyone that Jimmy loves her in the pods. And Jimmy says, well, someone told me that you ran into the quarters and you were yelling that I said that I love you. Then she has to change it and she says, no, I only whispered it to Laura and I didn't know that she would run and tell the others. But if I was Chelsea, I would actually ask Jimmy, well, if you truly do love me, what's the problem with other people knowing? Like what? Are you not proud to say that you love me? Do you not want me to tell others? Like, what's the issue with that? But Jimmy then tells her that when he told her that he loved her, he wasn't even fully decided on who he wanted to pick. Excuse me? Excuse me? Jimmy is a piece of work, okay? And then to make matters worse, he then brings up Jessica and how his breakup went. This is your first time meeting each other. Y'all just arrived on your honeymoon. Why are you discussing another woman? And Chelsea sits there and like has the conversation. Remember the season with Bartiste? And he was in the bed with Nancy and he was talking about Raven the whole time. Don't let these men play with you like that, okay? So Jimmy says that he feels like it was a bit unfair for Jess to completely blame him. And I agree. I feel like I've been saying, I feel like they both shared their part in that situation. But he says that he didn't like that Jess completely blamed him for ruining her experience on the show. He also said that he felt like Jess had a really bad attitude. And then he says that she brought up looks when she was breaking up with him. And Jimmy is trying to play it cool, but I really think that he wants to see Jess and he's actually quite shook because he believes that what Jess is saying is actually true. But in true Jimmy fashion, he keeps making comments to try to reassure Chelsea. At this point, Jimmy is just trying to convince himself. I don't think that he's attracted to Chelsea at all, okay? So next we see Jeremy and Laura, and they're getting very cozy. They joke a lot with each other, which is important, but you know sometimes you have those couples where all they do is joke, 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 and they don't know when to be serious, and it's like, where's the depth in this relationship? But Jeremy and Laura, why do I keep calling her lawyer? But Jeremy and Laura definitely look very comfortable with each other. A complete 180 from the scenes that we see with Jeremy and Chelsea. Next, we see Amy and Johnny, and they're looking really comfortable as well. Very lovey-dovey. Johnny seems to be so in love. He's super attracted to Amy. Meanwhile, Amy is still talking about the type of men that she usually dates, and she says that the more time that she spends with Johnny, the more the physical attraction will continue to grow. So I'm like, okay, usually when couples are saying that, it's not great, but I still had a bit of hope for Amy and Johnny at this point. All right, so next we see Clay and AD, and they're in the pool, and Clay's eyes are popping out of his damn head at the sight of AD in a bathing suit. But he says that he doesn't want to sexualize her. He wants to treat her like the queen that she is. Now, I'm gonna say this, y'all know I love me some AD. But AD does strike me as a woman who is 1000% aware of the effect that her body has on some men, and she welcomes that attention, okay? She does. I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with people who use their assets to their advantage. I think we all should. Shit, I do, okay? But I think that AD may make it even harder for herself to truly know if Clay wants to be with her for her or for just her body. In the pods, she held it down. She played by the rules. She did not describe anything physical about herself. But now that they're in person, she's like, baby, here it is, okay? And I don't know if that's going to help or hurt her when dealing with Clay. Now, I don't want her with Clay. Clay's gonna always have the side eye from me, but I feel like she may make it a bit harder for herself to see Clay's true intentions, okay? But AD says that she's obsessed with Clay. She says that the physical connection is definitely there and she is open to sleeping with Clay. And I'm like, girls, do not sleep with Clay. Give us some time, please. So next we see Brittany and Kenneth, and they're preparing for bed, and he tells her that he'd like to get in the habit of unpacking their day, discussing what went on during their day, what went well, what went not so well. I do love that. And they both say that they feel no ick about each other. They joke about them taking really long showers. And even though they decided not to be intimate until after they were married, I still don't see chemistry between them. They're very nice. They're very kind and sweet to each other. But when it comes to like chemistry, and I'm not even talking sexual, I don't see that spark, you get what I'm saying? It's still giving very much platonic. Next we see Chelsea and Jimmy, and they're getting ready for bed, and I must say, Clay, I owe you an apology. Let me tell you why. I thought that Clay would be the one on this cast who needed the constant validation, but my God, Chelsea truly takes the cake. She's constantly asking Jimmy if he was excited to see her. This is the second time that she's mentioned that she looks like a T-Rex when she's running. She then asks Jimmy what's the first thing that he noticed about her. And he says the PG answer is her perfect white teeth, her perfect smile. And she's not happy with that answer, okay? She says, well, the first thing that I noticed about you were your beautiful eyes. Then I'm like, girl, you better take that answer, because what he really wants to say is the first thing that he noticed about you is that you lied about looking like Megan Fox. That's the first thing that he noticed about you, but he's trying to be nice, okay? But then he says the first thing that he noticed that's not PG is that she had big boobs. And she's like, well, do you still like me? Are you sure? And look, these are questions that are completely understandable to ask in this experience. You do want to know that the person that you connected with finds you attractive. Totally valid. Totally understandable. But the fact that she keeps asking and she's gonna keep on asking and she doesn't seem to be satisfied with any of his responses, not a good sign. It's giving very insecure, and she's with Jimmy, Mr. Go Along to Get Along. He's just gonna tell her whatever she wants to hear, but Chelsea is truly exhausting. So now we are on episode 6 and we see Amy and Johnny. They had a fun night. Amy said that the physical connection between her and Johnny is given 11 out of 10. I'm like, okay, Johnny. Clearly Johnny did what needed to be done because Amy looks very happy and she was stuck on him like white on rice for the rest of this episode. We see Clay and AD. They're in their glasses, really cute. We see Jeremy and Lawyer. If I call this girl Lawyer one more time, and maybe I should be calling her Lawyer because she's gonna need a lawyer with the type of things that she's encouraging people to do to other people, but we gonna get to that, okay? So we see Jeremy and Laura being their typical sarcastic selves and they're being really playful. Overall, everyone looks more comfortable today than the day before, whether or not they got physical. So I love that for them because we know in past seasons, a lot of times the day after the first night, it's always a weird vibe, so we definitely didn't get that from this bunch. Love that for them, okay? But as we know, it's not gonna be all peaches and cream, all right? So next we see Kenneth and Brittany, and they're getting a massage. And I noticed that he looks past her a lot. When she's looking directly at him, he doesn't look into her eyes, he looks beyond her. I don't know if it's him being nervous or uncomfortable, I don't know what it is, but when she's looking at him in his eye, he looks like past her, okay? So next we see AD and Clay and they're on a date where Clay tells her that if she was to get out of shape, he'd tell her to get her mother effing A in the effing gym. And he thinks that him telling her in that way would make her more determined to get back into shape. Yeah, no. I definitely think that it's a great thing to have a partner who cares about health and fitness, and you two can encourage each other, you two can work out together, you can cook together, all of those great things. But if Clay thinks that speaking to his partner that way is encouraging, it's a hell no. So AD reminds Clay like, hey, you know, one day I'm gonna have children, right? I'm gonna get bigger. And he says, yeah, and you gotta get right. I'll be in the gym with you every day. AD, are you hearing this, baby? My sweet baby, are you hearing this? So AD tells Clay that he needs to be nice with the things that he says to her. And he says that that's something that he'll definitely work on. And he says, you know, my ego is messed up a little bit. And of course, here goes AD, Hercules, 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 just praising Clay for the bare minimum. And I mentioned this in my previous video, but AD praises Clay when he admits that he does something wrong. Before, when he admitted to not reacting in the best way when she let him know that she was also having a connection with Matt and he got upset about it and he's like, oh, I cried the other day. She's like, oh, the fact that you even said that, I love that about you. And of course, his ability to admit his shortcomings is a great thing, but what's most important, what's more important than that is actually changed behavior. Clay gives me the type to say,
I know I do this wrong. I'm sorry I did that wrong.
But he gonna keep doing it. Next, we learned that AD has been in therapy for about a year. She said that she found herself in a relationship loop where the same things kept happening to her over and over and over. And the way that I take that is that AD was dating the same type of guys, just in different bodies. And unfortunately, I feel like she picked the same guy in Clay. A lot of issues stem from her dad. Remember, she touched on that in a previous episode, that she wasn't that close to him. And she did find herself trying to fill the void of her father with the love of other men. And this is a story for so many. And honestly, when AD said that she felt like she doesn't deserve love, I started tearing up, okay? Because I hate for her or for anyone to feel like that. And it also made me feel like she shouldn't even be here. She shouldn't even be dating. Because when you are seeking love from others and you don't love yourself, you begin to operate from a place of desperation. And that's why it's so easy to ignore 50 million red flags for 2 green flags. However, I will say that Clay did well in this conversation with AD. He was understanding and he did reassure her when she expressed concern about not having her dad to walk her down the aisle. He said all of the right things, but still, I don't trust Clay. I don't see it for Clay. But in this moment, He did what had to be done. He said what needed to be said, okay? So next we see Jimmy and Chelsea. They're on the beach and she lets us know that she feels self-conscious in a bathing suit. And I'm like, okay, great. Now Jimmy's gonna have to spend this entire day reassuring Chelsea of how she looks in her bathing suit. Another person that does not need to be here. But Jimmy's telling her that she looks great in her bathing suit and she's asking him how it feels to be the hottest person on the beach. Chelsea is a lot. So they start talking about what their exes look like and the people that they usually date. And she keeps asking Jimmy if he has any doubts. And he says, I'm going to continue to reiterate that I don't have any doubts. And it was very much giving, as per my last email, I've already answered that question multiple times, okay? You can tell that Jimmy was getting frustrated with her asking the same questions. But like I said, Mr. Go Along to Get Along, he's gonna keep reassuring her, even though he's lying. But in this scene, you can tell that he was getting a bit irritated with her asking him the same question over and over. So now the couples are all meeting up. I'm so excited to see what everyone thinks of each other. Chelsea ran over to the ladies like a T-Rex. The ladies are all loving how attentive that Kenneth is with Brittany. He's picking up the chair for her. He's doing all these nice things for her. Did y'all catch when Chelsea asked Brittany if she feels safe with Kenneth? Girl, did you ask everyone else that or just Brittany? Chelsea, did you miss your microaggressions training at the office? Did you forget to do that training, sis? Because I want to know why you asked Brittany that. I'm just curious. So next we see Laura and AD, and they have the funniest little conversation. Apparently she's more than happy with the size of Jeremy's, everything, okay? And she's being coy because she's like, girl, I have employees. And at this point, I was like, aw, Laura and AD have such a cute relationship. But soon we gonna see that Laura ain't shit. So apparently from this conversation, it looks like none of the couples have slept together except for I think maybe Amy and Johnny, right? But Chelsea says that Jimmy is quite huge. That's exactly how she said it. Huge, okay? Let me tell you something. I loved everything about this conversation. It really had me cracking up, all right? So next we see the guys and they're chatting about their partners. This conversation is very different. The guys are on their best behavior while speaking about the ladies. And we see Jimmy and he compliments Clay on his choice of AD. And when Jimmy said that, I said, ooh, you better not let Chelsea Megan Fox T-Rex hear that. She gonna have a fit. Child, so next we see Jimmy and Chelsea and they're chatting and Jimmy tells Chelsea that AD is stacked. Now, when I tell you I screamed because was it my first review, my second review, when I was talking about AD and her figure, I used the same exact words. I said that AD is stacked. But another reason why I screamed is because first Jimmy was quoting Jagged Edge and now he's using the word stacked. Jimmy, who you been hanging out with? Have you been to a cookout or two? I feel like Jimmy has been invited to a couple of cookouts, okay? But Jimmy, let me say this. You do not make those type of comments to your girlfriend, fiance, wife, unless y'all have years in and that is just what y'all do. You have already established that she doesn't have a problem with that. That is not something that you say to your brand new fiance who you just met in person a couple of days ago, who has been literally asking you nonstop if you find her attractive. Wrong road. But then Chelsea makes it weird by calling out to AD and saying, hey, Jimmy just said that you're stacked. And how do you get your butt like that? And when Chelsea does this, we can see that AD tries to make light of it. She tries to make it less awkward. She does a little dance to make it less uncomfortable. That's just the way that I took it. And from this scene and another scene that we're going to see later, I can tell that AD does that a lot. She will hide or maybe not say what she truly feels so that other people around her don't feel uncomfortable. And that's deep. That probably stems from a whole bunch of other things. I think also she's a Black woman, and on these shows, you don't want to come off as the angry attitude Black girl because that's an edit that a lot of Black women get. So I get it. I understand why she tried to play it off and be like, oh yeah, girl squats and whatever, as opposed to being upset about Chelsea's comment, okay? But you can tell that Jimmy was very embarrassed about the comment. And then Jimmy goes over to AD and he apologizes. He said, hey, I meant it in the most respectful way. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for her to say that. But then Jimmy grabs AD's hand. He hugs her. He tells her that she's the greatest. Jimmy is tipsy. also, okay? And when I tell you this is the most love, infatuation, whatever you want to call it, that I've seen in Jimmy's eyes since he's been on my screen. He seems really smitten with AD, and I was cracking up, but then part of me was like, hold up. Jimmy and AD, y'all are wrong in this situation because AD, you were flirting. Jimmy, you were definitely flirting. In my opinion, even though the scene had me cracking up initially because I feel like Chelsea was trying to be messy and it backfired, when I watched it back, I'm like, aside from Chelsea, AD and Jimmy, y'all were wrong. Y'all were wrong in this situation, okay? And what does Chelsea say when she sees Jimmy speaking to AD?
I want to throw up.
So next we see Chelsea and she's talking to Amy. And when Chelsea originally made her comment about AD, when she yelled it out at first, I thought that she was trying to compliment AD and embarrass Jimmy. That's what I originally thought that she was trying to do because I got the impression that AD and Chelsea were friends. But now seeing Chelsea's reaction and how it kind of backfired on her, I honestly think that her true intentions were to embarrass Jimmy and AD. I feel like she wanted to embarrass AD as well. And because she didn't get the response that she was looking for, what she actually did was kind of give her man the green light to go over and speak to AD. Now she wants to throw up all over everybody. So Chelsea is telling Amy that she doesn't want to have to question if Jimmy really wants her, is really attracted to her. And I'm like, really, Chelsea? Are you sure you don't? Because that's literally all you've been doing since the two of you have gotten here. And as Chelsea's speaking to Amy, she's looking back and Jimmy and AD, they're still going at it. Listen, at one point, I thought that Jimmy was leaning in for a kiss. In all honesty, I was like, okay, what's going on here? Y'all doing a little bit too much. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Kwame and Micah. Remember when they had that meetup and Kwame and Micah were at the pool and they were just in each other's face? And what's Kwame's wife's name? Her name ain't Chelsea. Is her name Chelsea too? But that's what it was giving. And I could fully understand why Chelsea was upset in that moment. But I will say, Chelsea, I don't think that Jimmy would have felt comfortable going over to AD and chatting with her had you not yelled out about her butt across the beach. Okay, so that's what you get. Then we see Jimmy. He takes his tipsy behind over to the ladies. It's Chelsea, Lauren, and Amy, and they're just chatting it up. He's asking them about where he fell on their list during the pod situation. And Chelsea interjects, and Jimmy tells her, this doesn't include you. I was like, ooh. Then they ask him if he's happy. And if you look at the scene, he's saying yes out of his mouth, but he's shaking his head no. What's the saying? A drunk man tells no tales. Jimmy is not happy at all with Chelsea. He's not attracted to her. He doesn't like her. He's not having it, okay? So next we see Kenneth and AD, and they're having a conversation about how it is for Kenneth dating a white woman for the first time, and he does say that it is an adjustment. And then we see AD ask Kenneth if he's confident that Brittany will be able to raise Black children. And I do think that that is an important question to ask, and it is definitely an issue that can come up for interracial couples if you just go into the relationship with blinders on and try to ignore the fact that race is a thing. It's a factor, and it's something that him and Brittany are definitely going to have to discuss. Make sure they're on the same page about. Make sure that Brittany is not the,
Oh, I don't see color. Oh, I don't know. It has no effect on. No.
He needs to make sure that she knows what's up, okay? So now we get into the part of the episode that really pissed me off. We see the men, they're chatting. AD comes over and Jeremy asks her about something called the bean dip, the bean flip, whatever, okay? So apparently Laura would walk past AD when they were in the quarters and they had like a little inside joke where I guess Laura would, flick AD, you get it, okay? And it just seems like AD and Laura are cool like that, okay? But then Jeremy says that Laura told him to do it to AD. I have a huge problem with that. Why the hell do you think that that would be okay? Why would you tell your boyfriend to SA someone? Because that's what it is. And this goes into the over-sexualization and the dehumanization of Black women, but that is an entire video for another day. But why would Laura think that it's okay for Jeremy to do that to any of these women? But then more specifically, why AD? Did she tell him to do that to any of the other women? Did she just assume that AD would just be okay with it? Why? And then she's like, oh, it's not a big deal. It was just a joke. So the ladies go over to discuss it, and Laura is still being very dismissive. And she says Clay shouldn't be upset about it. He shouldn't be mad. It was just a joke. But Clay is upset about it. And Clay tells Jeremy, like, yeah, don't do that, okay? And instead of apologizing, Laura's saying that Jeremy shouldn't have even brought it up. She's deflecting. She's trying to blame everyone else when it came out of her mouth. I definitely don't like how Laura handled this. And I was giving Laura the side eye from the last episode. Remember when she was telling Jessica,
oh, he's not your man,
but she wouldn't fully say what happened? And this just sealed the deal with Laura. Absolutely disgusting. Laura is not a girl's girl. And if you have a girlfriend that would tell a guy to do something like that to you, to violate you, that is not your friend, okay? Let me move on before I start cussing. Now we see the cookies start to crumble between Laura and Jeremy. We see Laura, and I forgot who she was sitting and talking with, but Jeremy did come over to sit with her, and he overhears her laughing at Johnny's little, I guess he has like a man bun. And Jeremy is like, honestly, what's up with you? And she's like, oh, well, I have a bone to pick with you later. We got to talk about, you telling AD and Clay the joke. And at this point, Jeremy seems to be over Laura. He doesn't like the way that she handles any of these situations. And he's like, I'm ready to go home. And Laura's like, you mean like to the hotel or home? He's like, home. He's like, home. And he gets up and he walks away. We don't know where he goes, but the last that we see of Jeremy is his back, okay? Chelsea and Jimmy, they get back to the hotel, and Chelsea immediately brings up the AD situation, and she admits that Jimmy's comment about AD's body made her feel some type of way, and that's why she yelled it out. So because Jimmy's comment made you feel insecure, you decided to embarrass him and to put AD on the spot? Not cool. And Chelsea's upset because Jimmy wasn't paying her any attention. And she says that he spent all his time talking to AD and he was spinning her around and he was flirting. And Jimmy says, I'm not into AD at all, and that he wasn't flirting and that he didn't spin her around. Jimmy, you are a damn liar. Liar. And she's like, all of the other girls had great connections and I was just by myself and you weren't coming over to me and they were being lovey-dovey and you were just over with AD and blah, 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 blah. Chelsea is clearly upset, as she should be, but I also feel that Chelsea's insecurity and her trying to be petty and embarrass Jimmy and AD is kind of what started this whole situation. But at the same time, like I said before, Jimmy is a damn liar. Let me tell you what Jimmy is. Jimmy is the type to have you in a 10-year relationship where you think that everything is absolutely amazing and perfect because that's what he's been telling you for the past 10 years. And then one day he wakes up and he finally says the truth and he says,
I haven't been happy for 10 years.
That is Jimmy. It's annoying at this point. Both Chelsea and Jimmy go home. Jimmy apologizes to Chelsea multiple times, but Chelsea keeps repeating the same thing over and over. I don't know what more she wanted, but she says that he needs to just take it. And then like less than 2 seconds later, she says, I love you. And I'm just like, girl, what? Very unstable with her emotions. They need to go home. At this point, everyone needs to go home, okay? But baby, I can't wait for these next 3 episodes because they played these previews. It looks like everyone is going to be going through it once they move into these apartments. Jeremy wants to meet Sarah. Brittany is telling Kenneth that he completely changed after the honeymoon. Clay doesn't know if he can be with one person. Surprise, surprise. What a shocker that is. Not. We see Jimmy tell Jess that she was his number one still. I screamed, okay, because who didn't see that coming? We see Chelsea yelling at Jimmy, talking about, you effed her, you effed her. What? Is she talking about Jess? Then we see Chelsea with Trevor. And I literally screamed out, no! Trevor, you don't need any parts of Chelsea, okay? Tell me what y'all thought about episodes 5 and 6. Tell me what are your predictions for the next 3 episodes that are coming out. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!